again for another episode of By Design, where we believe organizations should be run by design and not left to chance. Really excited about today's episode. I have my good friend Paul Cowley in all the way from California, and we're so happy to have him. I've always wanted to get him on camera and talk to him, so we're going to get his thoughts on a bunch of topics today. Paul, thanks for flying in and thanks for being here.
I'm happy to do so, and here and happy to talk through kind of any of the items you want to talk about.
Paul's philosophies on life. I can't wait to get these recorded. And he's not here to see us. He's here to play in a golf outing. But while he was here, we're gonna steal him for some of his thoughts. So Paul, really today, I just wanted you've had a very successful career. I know you've started at least two companies that I know of, Networks Plus and Invoco, successfully exited both of them, which is why he's now the world's most interesting man, hella skiing, doing all kind of cool stuff. So I kind of just want to get your thoughts, philosophies, experience as you started those, grew those, exited those. You worked with a bunch of companies, so you've seen it all. And I think you've worked on 6 different continents, 5 different continents.
Yeah, 5.
So your experience and worldview of organizations and successful organizations, I can't even imagine. I'll never get to that point. So let's, I guess, just start there. You've had successful companies. You've worked with successful companies. You've probably also seen a bunch of crappy ones.
Yeah.
Maybe walk us through what you view as the what makes the difference for the good ones and the bad ones, and are there any common themes that you saw over your career that, hey, good companies always had these kind of things and bad ones seem to have these kind of things?
I think I'd kind of like to start with, if the audience here is looking to start companies or have already started companies, let's just talk through the basics of, okay, well, I've got this great idea. I want to run a company, build it big, whatever. I think you have to really think long and hard about how you want to structure that company, because how you start that company is how it's going to be pretty much in 10 years on. And I've always had the philosophy that you want to start a company. Number one, if you do it on your own, it's a very lonely process. And you don't have people necessarily to bounce good and bad ideas off of. So I've always wanted to start companies where I've got partners, and to me, having three of you, yourself and 2 other partners, makes eminent sense on a number of different levels. The first one being, you always come to a consensus between 3 people. You don't have standoffs in terms of decision making, and it just makes all of this decision making flow. So I would say that first and foremost. Both of the last 2 companies that we've run successfully have had that model.
Have had 3 partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's funny that's intentional, because I always thought, just observing the relationship between you, Marty, and Steve at Invoco, that it worked so well because there were 3 of you and you guys were so different. We talk a lot about testing and the assessments and disc profiles, and you all 3 had very different, unique profiles. And I think that's why it worked so well. But maybe talk a little bit more about how that partnership works, and when you get 3, how did you guys make decisions and work through all that?
I think you're right in saying of those 3, the 3. If you get 3 people to start a company, by their very nature, they're going to be different personalities. But you need to be able to run a company. You've got to be able to do the work, sell the work, do the work, and get it paid. And so I would say that you kind of need somebody in each of those 3 corners.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into this a little bit. You've had a million sayings that I've kind of taken and put in my back pocket, but one is cash is king and happy customers pay. They're kind of related. where did those sayings go? I remember you all the time going, we'd have all hands meetings and somebody would ask, well, how's the business? Happy customers pay and our accounts payable are, up to date or whatever.
Yeah.
Cash is king and we've got plenty of cash to go. So maybe talk about why those two things are so important to a business.
I mean, the money in the bank is the lifeblood of the company, and it amazes me how many small businesses don't pay attention to correct invoicing and the focus and attention you need to get paid. It takes as much to get paid as it does to get the business, and so important. But it needs all three of those corners of the business to be running well for your customers to be happy, for your customers to pay. And most customers really do want to pay you. It's kind of, they're not particularly playing any games, but you sometimes get in their way of paying.
Yeah, that's true. Now, did you have a formula for how much cash your companies needed? Like, did you say, hey, we needed 6 months worth of this, or was it just kind of?
Well, I think it depends on what kind of company you're running. The two companies that I've run, and that would be over a period of, I don't know, 30 years, I guess. But they were both service-driven companies, and so I think you need somewhat less. And if you've got products you're buying, then it would be a different metric. But I think you always, we always wanted 2 months worth of money in the bank to be sure that we could always make payroll. We were never sweating on getting money in to make payroll.
Yeah, what's your philosophy on taking money from either outside investors, private? That's a big thing. At least it seems to be a big thing in today's world. People are almost, rather than having that cash in the bank through sales and invoicing, and that way it's almost, hey, I need to take some money from folks to help payroll, R&D, whatever.
I think, I mean, the thing you have to always bear in mind is if you take money, there's going to be either somebody taking part of your company or somebody influencing your company and how, influencing your decisions, be that a bank, be that a private credit, be that any other number of ways of getting money or indeed seed capital. So, you have to understand that as soon as you take money, there's a recompense for that.
Yeah, Marty always says, as soon as you take money, it starts a timer.
Yeah.
That timer could be counting down to many different things, but it says that starts the timer.
Yeah, exactly. And just overall, so my personal thought is you need to make sure that most of the money in the company is yours, so you're making most of the decisions.
Yes.
I mean, that doesn't mean to say you're not borrowing money off of the bank. It doesn't mean to say you don't have lines of credit. But again, over the period of, let's just say a period of 10 years, banking goes through times when money's loose and it goes through times when money is tight. And you might have borrowed when money was loose, but then suddenly they have a different objective and maybe they take it away. I've seen that happen many times. And then suddenly, again, they're making decisions that affect you.
Circling back a little bit to Networks Plus and Advoco, two very successful companies that you were a part of. Why do you think they were both so successful? Was it because you're just a brilliant man and had brilliant ideas and executed brilliantly?
No, I think we employed exceptional people. Really comes down to the other people in the company. All I was doing was kind of with the other owners of companies. Keeping ourselves on the straight and narrow and making majority good decisions. But no, I mean the company relies on recruiting the right people.
Was that a struggle? In some of my experiences consulting and talking with companies, the founders sometimes struggle letting go of that and saying, hey, I can't be in control. You guys need to, the people I hired, I need to let you do your jobs. That's a struggle for some folks. Was that a struggle for you at any point? And if so, maybe how did you?
I don't think it was it might have been a struggle for me in the first set of companies. Actually, prior to those two companies, I was running a company out in Hong Kong, and it was very tempting to roll up your sleeves and do the work rather than have your the people that you're employing work on it. But I think over time, I kind of realized that that's just a big mistake. If you're employing somebody to do something, then you should get out the way. And
that was one of my at Advoco. I kind of reported to you at first, and that was one of the best parts I thought about my time at Advoco was you kind of said, here's where we're going, here's where we want to go, do it and let me know what you need.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I loved it. I love that philosophy.
But I think it is a big problem for small companies where people won't let go, and if you don't let go, it's not going to grow.
Yep.
Yeah, you end up micromanaging, and there's a host of other things that come into play when you start rolling your sleeves up and doing the work.
How did you guys avoid silos? So as companies grow, as success gets more and more, you almost start to have people fight for or protect their little turf, silo, sandbox, whatever you want to.
I think I've always been lucky in that my business partners have also been my friends, first and foremost, and they still are in both of those companies going back 30 odd years. And so if they're your friends, they're not you're not fighting with each other. Choosing your partners wisely, I guess, is the mantra on that.
So even, I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit. You win with your people day to day, but you also win with your people that you bring into the founder's room.
Exactly.
Okay.
And most definitely, I mean, Marty never. We had kind of Marty and Steve and myself as the three founders of the company. None of us really encroached on each other's turf. I mean, like Marty had the sales corner, Steve had the operations corner, and I had the back office. And truly we trusted each other to do those respective jobs. I don't think we ever had a situation where we would be encroaching on each other's kind of turf. We didn't ever want to do that. So,
but you were there if somebody had questions, struggles, whatever. You guys, I'm assuming, would bounce those all off each other.
Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And we all could, if we needed to, jump into the other positions.
Yeah.
I
know one of your favorite parts of the back office was the HR function. I know you really enjoyed doing that at your time at Advoco. Sometimes it's lucky when the founder hates doing the part of the job you do. In each of those organizations, or as you're growing, when's the right time to exit or start thinking about selling?
Well, I think it'll depend on the partnership. Typically the partners are not all of the same age. They may well not, have the same views. So I would say first and foremost, yes, you're starting a company up and you have a vague idea that you want to sell it eventually or whatever, but it has to be a strong, structured company that's going to run. It might run 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and you can't time when a sale is going to happen. The markets are kind of fickle in that respect. I mean, you only have to look at the last couple of years. Look out over 3 years ago, everybody wanted to buy every tech company. Probably today, not so much. And if you miss that window, maybe you've got, you're running for another 5 years. Could easily be.
Yeah, a strong company, in my mind, has, it comes down to a few different areas, but people, profits, and processes are three of the big ones. Do you agree with that, or what kind of characteristics, when you say a strong company, what does that mean in your mind?
It means a sustainable company that is not deemed to have to sell because it needs to. You put yourself just in a very bad position to negotiation-wise. If you're running out of money, if you're running out of enthusiasm, or you're just overall trying to time the market. So I think you've got to be opportunistic to sell any company, and you're never going to know exactly when the right time is, when somebody's going to make an approach, and whether your partnership at that time wants to sell.
Yeah, that's why we always say exit planning is just good business planning.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't be doing anything different.
Yeah.
Even if you're getting ready to sell or go to market, because you should have been doing these things.
Yeah.
All along.
It's a great point. I mean, the metrics that the acquiring companies are using are great metrics that you should be using anyway.
Yep. Advice to a younger Paul. So you've started several companies, successfully exited. I'm sure you learned a ton each and every time. If you could go back to young Paul who's getting ready to start his first company, is there any advice you would tell that person of saying, hey, young Paul, make sure you learn this lesson first?
All right. Well, I think it would have to be, make sure that you're really inspired with what the company is going to be doing, because whatever happens, you've got to be the ambassador, pushing it forward, and being enthusiastic about what you're doing. Maybe for 10 years, let's say 10 years, as a are you going to be able to be enthusiastic about what you're doing for 10 years?
I think that's such a great point, because I feel like I've experienced talking to some business owners that they have an idea because they know they can make money on it, not necessarily because they love whatever it is. They're seeing the money and the potential earnings, but they're not that inspired, passionate person. They kind of think, I can get in this, I can grow it to a level and just sell it real quick, and then go do maybe something that they're passionate about. So I think starting with passion is very important.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there were times, rough times, slow times. It's not always up and to the right.
Certainly.
As we used to say at Advoco, everybody wants to move up and to the right. And I think that passion helps you get through those probably tougher times, helps you buckle down, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and in some ways, having some tough times is good for you, because it reinforces. Do I truly believe in this, and can I make the sacrifices, and will I make the sacrifices to continue it?
Yeah, I think Marty tells a great story about Chris Oakley, the great Chris Oakley that we worked with, who I think after one of our meetings, it wasn't, our tough times were probably good times for most companies, but I remember Marty mentioned something like Chris was just laughing because he was like, you guys just aren't used to not winning. And so he was like, he was almost to that point, right? He wanted to see how it would respond to whatever it was, a bad quarter, a bad month, whatever we had. And I think we did, and we turned it around. But he was just, Marty tells a story about how he was just giggling, saying, you guys are just used to winning. You've never not won before.
and that's not true. I mean, we certainly went through some kind of lean times, and we certainly went through some times when it was important to demonstrate to ourselves and the rest of the company that we're taking sacrifice, not getting paid or whatever. But I would say, and going back on one of your previous questions about whether you ought to or how easy is it to not do the work yourself. Definitely, Chris Oakley had the view you need to make it clear your own time is worth thousands of dollars an hour, and so therefore that forces you to push the workload down the organization.
Yeah, it does amaze me sometimes what owners of companies are doing when we go in and talk to them and kind of, because a lot of it is they're frustrated, they're burnt, they're grinding, right? And you start to say, well, walk me through your day, and well, I've got to answer the customer service calls, and wait, what? Why are you doing that? Don't you have a customer service manager? Well, yeah, but I need to know what's going on. And I'm like, oh gosh, this one's going to be a little bit of a challenge. But I think if people do view that, if I value my time at $1,000 an hour, would you still do that? My guess is probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, that's right.
And it helps you get on the business instead of in the business, which is another Chris Oakleyism.
Yeah.
That I remember him telling us is you guys need to work on the business, not in the business.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? Again, I guess it goes back to my view would be you have to hire the right people, and through assessments and testing and your interview processes and all that stuff, you have to make sure you have the right people to trust.
Yeah.
And get that out. Cool. I think that's most of the business questions I had for you. Paul is, like I mentioned, the most interesting man in the world. He's heli-skied. He's raced McLarens on ice, right, or something crazy like that. What's next on your bucket list of crazy things of doing?
That's a good question. Nothing springs to mind. I'm kind of I'm happy with my lot, and still growing the wine and making good wine. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Awesome. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man. I know you're here for a golf outing, but I appreciate you squeezing in 40-ish minutes
not at all.
with us to get your thoughts and philosophies on just growing businesses, successful businesses. Because Evoco, I think, was a very special place, and I think it was because of the relationship of you three partners and how you ran it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, everybody, thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.